Shalom lekulam, and welcome to the 21st lesson on the book of Zohar. We're starting from the prologue. We are in section called the donkey driver. This is a continuation of lesson number 20th, in which we started talking about this section of the donkey driver. And in this section, we're going to talk about many subjects that are going to be kind of confusing if you are a new person in Kabbalah, or if you know Kabbalah, but it's just, the basic stuff and all that. So I'm going to try to keep it as simple as possible in order for those of you who are new and those of you who don't know a lot of the nomenclature of Kabbalah, so you guys can understand what we're talking about as we go through this lesson. Okay, as always, we are going to first go through our intention, and what we're gonna do is we're going to scan these names of God that have been filled with other names of God, and don't try to make sense of them. Like I said before, just scan them. This is a way for us to open the gates of wisdom and understanding, and always knowing that when we study the Zohar, we're not studying the Zohar simply because we want knowledge, or simply because we want to absolutely understand everything in the Zohar. We want to study the Zohar because we want to reveal the light. And that light is revealed when we are studying the Zohar in a way that has an intention for us to be changed in order to make the whole world better. What do I mean by it? Meaning changing our egoistic intentions or egoistic nature into an altruistic nature, in which we are studying this not because we want to know knowledge, which we will get that, of course, that's part of the fruits that we get, but we're studying the Zohar because we want to bring light to the world. We want to reveal this light. Okay? So as we study the Zohar, do not concentrate on trying to memorize or understand everything that you hear as we go through it. Try to listen to it, but have this internal intention that as you get this information, it's kind of like the light, if the light was a laser trying to break into your own clifford, into your own shell, in order to open up that shell that is called your ego and liberate the light that is within you. And that light that is within you is basically liberated, or that laser that will open that shell within you that is hiding that light is called the desire for a change, the different intention that you want basically to receive the light of the Zohar in order to learn how to love your fellow people, the people around you, your neighbors, your friends, your family, everybody, even the creatures that the Creator created, right? Everybody, as you love yourself. This is a way in which we know that we want to change. So that's the first step. We know that we have actually acknowledged that we have some kind of evil that we need to change and try to use in order to become better. Because in Kabbalah, the difference between Kabbalah and other spiritual system, in Kabbalah we don't try to eliminate evil. We're trying to transform evil and use it in a way that it will become a partner of good to help us advance spiritually. So we call evil at that time is sweetened, and it's not evil anymore is more like the plus and negative in a bulb that will create light. Okay, so scan this letter, like I said, from your right to your left. I will give you a few seconds, and then we're going to start with a prayer from the Ari before we study the Zohar. Ruler of the universe and master of all masters, the Father of mercy and forgiveness, we thank you, our God and the God of our fathers, by bowing down and kneeling, that you brought us closer to your Torah and your holy work. And you enable us to take part in the secrets of your holy Torah. How worthy are we that you grant us with such a big favor, which is the reason we plead before you that you will forgive and acquit all our sins, and that they should not bring separation between you and us. And may be your will before you, our God and the God of our fathers, that you will awaken and prepare our hearts to love and revere you. And may you listen to our utterances and open our closed heart to the hidden studies of your Torah. And may our study be pleasant before your place of honor, as the aroma of sweet incense. And may you emanate to us light from the source of our soul to all of our being. And may the sparks of your holy servants, through which you reveal your wisdom to the world, shine. May their merit and the merit of the fathers and the merit of their Torah and holiness support us so we cannot stumble through our study. And by their merit enlighten our eyes in our learning, as it is stated by King David, the sweet singer of Israel. Open my eyes so that I may see wonders from your Torah. For the Lord gives wisdom. From his mouth comes knowledge and understanding. May the utterances of my mouth and the thought of my heart find favor before you, God, my strength and my Redeemer. So, we are going to continue with the Zohar, and we're going to be using the Zohar with the Sulam commentary, and we're in item number 84 in the section of the prologue of the Zohar called the donkey driver. So, one thing that we need to keep in mind that this is probably the most known of the articles in the Zohar, and it's because of the mystery behind this donkey driver. This donkey driver seems to be a person that is basically guiding a donkey in order to help other people reach their destination. It will be like today's taxi driver, or today's now Uber drivers and like that, But in this case, since we're talking about this place and time when the Zohar was being revealed, it's a donkey driver. But the mystery of the donkey driver is that the donkey represents matter, and the driver represents the spirit. And the spirit is what actually takes control of matter and transform it or use it in order to advance spiritually. It's like the donkey is just a vehicle for us to reach from one place to another place. The Hebrew word for monkey, hamor, it's actually equal as the word for matter in Hebrew. And we're going to see that probably in the next lesson when I'm going to go through some gematria, so before we finish this article. So you can have an idea why it is important for us to study this section of the Zohar, and not only study it once, but study it, many times. Not only, let's say, here together, us, going through it, but also read it yourself. Read it yourself, by yourself, read it with others and see their insights into it. And in that way, you can get much more from it. We are going to be studying, as we have before, uh, this section using the Sulam commentary. If you're using the Kabbalah Center of the original Sulam commentary, whether it is in Hebrew or in English, it's going to be in item 84, paragraph 84, within that section called the donkey driver, okay? So we're going to start. Let's read. The donkey driver said, there are two kinds of peace down below. One is Jacob, who is Tiferet. The other is Joseph, who is Yesod. And because of this, peace is written twice in peace, peace to him that is far off and to him that is near. To him that is far refers to Jacob. To him that is near refers to Joseph. So to him that is far means, as you say, Hashem has appeared to me from afar. And also, and his sister stood afar off. And to him that is near means, as you said, to new Elohim that came from nearby. So what is the meaning of this paragraph? What does this paragraph has or wants to tell us, right? So we have to, before I continue, understand that we talked before when we were in our previous lesson number 20th, that we talk about Shabbat and how there was a Shabbat above and Shabbat below. So now, we're talking about two different kinds of peace, right? There was a Shabbat above and a Shabbat below, and we talked that these two Shabbat work together, right? Like it says on A83, item 83, since the circle and the square are Shabbatot, they are both included in the instruction. By Shabbatot, you are to observe. However, the upper Shabbat is not included in the instruction, observe, but rather in remember. For the Spernokin, Bina is a perfect as memory. This is why Bina is called king, whose perfection lies in peace and in memory. Hence, there is no contradiction above. So now we're talking about basically almost the same thing, but from a lower standpoint. So before that, we were talking about how the Shabbat above wasn't complete until there was Malchut below, who is the real Shabbat, right? So let's talk about this. Below, there's a Shalom above and a Shalom below. The Shalom below signifies sun, Serampin, and the Nukba, containing in both of them one of the properties, which is Jacob, which is a Sefirat Tiferet of Serampin. And also it contains with it what we call Yesod or Joseph. These both two Sefirot, and this is something, if you are interested, you can go back to the Parsha or the weekly portion of the Torah that I have in YouTube. And when you look through there, you're going to see that we talk a lot about this, about how Jacob was basically corrected by Joseph when it comes to the sexual, correction that Jacob needed to do was done by Joseph. And remember, Jacob did not want Leah, yet Leah gave him most of his son. He wanted Rachel. So because he did not want Leah, and the Sivug was made on Parsuf Leah in a way that there was not so much real connection there, Joseph needed to go through what he went through in order to correct that section of the tree of life called Yesod, and that's why it is Yesod, the Sephirah attributed to Joseph, called also the Tzaddik, the righteous person. So these both, the both Sephirot, right, the Serampin and the Yesod. Oh, Serampin is actually the six Sephirot. I'm talking about Tifaret and Yesod. Both of these Sephirot indicate that there's a place for a potential Sivug. Sivug means union, unification between Serampin and Mahut, meaning that there's a potential for peace. Peace is the meaning of connection, meaning Sivug. There's an upper Sivug called Jacob, which is intended to receive the light of Chokmah from above, and the lower Sivug, which is Joseph, that feels Malchut only if the Or Chokmah is clothed in this Or Hasidim. Okay, so let's see if I can find the graph in that way. So this is Serampin. Here you're gonna find Yesod. Yesod basically is a conduit. It's like a funnel through which all these different aspects of Serampin are gonna be given to Nukba. So this Sivug of Serampin is gonna be done only through this Yesod. This connection between the Nukba and Serampin is through Yesod, okay? And as Serampin received the Or Chokmah from Abba and Ima, he needs to enclose this or light of Chokhmah, this light of wisdom, in Or Hasidim, light of mercy. And that's why Yesod comes into play, because he becomes that conduit, like that funnel or pipe through which Mahut or Nukva is going to receive this. So it's a simple way to see it if you look at it, from this standpoint. So in the light of Chokmah, or if as a book is made, is basically defined as distant, because it needs to be clothed with Or Hasidim, because in order to be received by the lower ones, right? And that's why it is written, from afar I saw the Creator, so if the light of Chokmah, the light of wisdom, is not clothed with Or Hasidim, it's considered that it is far. If it is clothed with Or Hasidim, then it is considered that it's near one, right? So the lower Sivug is called the near one, because the Parsuf will receive this Or Hasidim without any previous actions, and it helps the Or Hasidim enter the Parsuf, and in a way that it will not create any issues in the Parsuf. The Sephirah, the vessel, will receive this light without breaking, without having any issues. And this is what it is called, peace. Because the light of Chokmah is clothed with the light of Or Hasidim. The light of wisdom is clothed with the light of mercy. And that's why it says here, peace, peace from the far and to the near. A greeting to Jacob and Joseph, respectively, both of whom take part of the great unification or Sivuk, meaning the reception of this light of Chokhmah. So right now we're talking about how Abba Ve'ima are sending that light to Serampin, how Serampin is using that light and clothing it, right, in Or Hasidim, and how Yesod is now receiving that light, ready to give it to Nukva. Now, these two greetings, right, the two greetings, are defined in Serampin and Nukba as a square. Remember, we talked about the circle. Circle has no limitations. The square does has limitations, right? It has up and down, left and right, and things like that. So these two greetings are defined as Serampin and Nukba, as a square. So there's some kind of distinction between them, right? There's a controversy between right and left sides. They're opposite to each other. And they end in the little hey, meaning Nukhwa or Mahut, where the upper Nukhwa Bina ends in the letter Yod. This is from the Yod He and Vav He. And designate basically not the female part but the male, hence there is no controversy here. So basically what we're saying is when we look up, we're gonna see that Abba is the Yod, Ima is the He, Seramping is the Vav, and Nukva is the He. That's the name of Hashem, right? The Havaya. Now, when he's talking about the upper He and the lower He here, it's basically that in Bina, basically the male is finished basically what is the Yod, while in the female, is the lower He, Nuba Mahud. That's where basically the light ends. In the upper one ends in Yod, and this is kind of confusing, but that's how Bala Hasulam explain it. Even the notions of being near and far, they don't exist in this Parsuf of Bina, because it refers to the first three, right? Gimer Rishonim, perfection. They can receive the light of Chokmah, the light of Abba, right, from nearby, and there's no distinction between them, no separation, right? Like it will probably happen down here because it is square, right? And it says that the open Mahut is king, the open Mahut is Bina, who has peace. Thus, there's a difference between Ima, right, and Zeramping, because there's two notions of peace in here. These notions, the notion of peace here is basically based on the circle that we talked before. There's no, you receive Bina, but there's no need. I mean, you receive Chokmah, but there's no need to clothe it into anything. Whereas in here, because it is square, there is a contradiction, but then when that contradiction is basically, let's put it this way, the right and the left side are used together, then they become peace, and peace then brings down the light of Chokmah, clothed with Or Hasidim to Nukba. Let's go to item 85. From afar refers to the upper point of his palace, and the verse refers to it with words, you shall keep, where it is included within keep. And reverence my sanctuary refers to the point in the center that you should be most greatly feared, since the penalty from transgressing it is death. For it is written, everyone who profanes it shall surely be put to death. And who profanes it? Those who penetrate into the space of the circle and the square, into the spot where that point is situated, and damage it. They shall surely be put to death. This is what it is written, and reverence. And this point is called Ani. Where the most high and concealed one, namely the Yohe and the Vav and the He, prevails. Thus, I am Hashem, and all is one. Rabbi Elias and Rabbi Abba, enlightened from their donkeys, alighted from the donkeys and kissed him. They said, with all this wisdom in your possession, you're leading donkeys behind us? They're asking, who are you? He answered them, do not ask me who I am, but let us, me and you, walk along and deal in the Torah. Let each of us speak words of wisdom to illuminate the way. So, the distant point refers to a point that opens the way to the Parsuf for 32 strings of Or Chokmah. Remember the 32 paths on the Tree of Life, okay? So just keep that in mind. And that's all you need to know for now. 32 paths of the Tree of Life that connects, that connect, these 32 paths connect the Sefirot. And this is the letter Bet in the first word of the Torah called Bereshit, called the point in the hall, and in which Or Chokmah descend to Son, and when Son ascend to Avi, for then the two Shabbat, the upper Abba Ve'ima, which is the upper Shabbat, and the lower Son, which is the lower Shabbat, both the upper and the lower Shabbat unite or merge. So this is why it is written, I saw the Creator from afar, because Zerampi and Nuhba cannot receive Or Chokmah without being clothed of Or Hasidim. It seems that we're repeating the same thing because this is a very important concept in Kabbalah. Chokmah and Bina, which is Abba Ve'ima, right? They're called the point in the hall and referred to as a distant from Zerampin and Nukba, because they need the garment of Or Hasidim, or the light of mercy, from the lower worlds. Nukba is called Ma, Mem Aleph. Mahut of the world of Adam Katmon is the central point called the Lak, whereas Mahut of the world of Atzilut, the point in the hall, is the key, as the light from Zad, that means the lower, there's Gar, which is the upper 3, and then there's Sad, which is the lower 7. The Bina, which is called Yesud, can receive it. So let's go back to our graph here. So this is Yesud, this is Zerampi and Malchut, okay? So basically what it's saying, the circle is called Abba Ve'ima. So this is a circle here. The square is Zon. Zon is Zerampi and Malchut down here. But when Zon ascends to Abba Ve'ima, to this level over here, which it's the level of Atzilut, then as a result, the properties appear in Malchut of Abba Ve'ima, right? So the lock, which is Malchut the Malchut, the central point of Malchut of Abba Ve'ima, and the key, which is the point in the hall, which is the Yesod the Malchut, or Malchut the Yesud, which is going to be right here, where you see this red line. Malchut de Avi is called space. Malchut de Abba Ve'ima is called space, for she cannot be attained, and he who wishes to fill her with light is punished by death. It is written, you shall fear my sanctity. So the point itself, which is Malchut here of Yesud, is called I, Ani. And Abba and Ima, right? Abba Ve'ima is the Yod, He, and the Vav He that merge with the I. Remember, Ani Hashem, Ani Yod, He, Vav He, right? You're going to hear that in the Torah. Whenever there's a commandment, the Creator will say, make sure you do this in a certain way, kind of stuff. Ani Hashem, right? It's kind of like the Creator sending a letter and at the end signing his name, Ani Hashem. So this point, it's together with the I, right? The point I and the Yohe and the Vahe, they are basically defined as a single whole. They're basically like together and complete. And this point itself is referred to as Abba Ve'ima, meaning that the characteristic is called holy because of the property of Abba Ve'ima. So what you need to see, if you were in the temple of Israel, is once you reach Atzilut is basically like the Holy of Holies, okay? And Abba Ve'ima will be the two cherubim looking at each other. And then Arikanpin will be the divine presence inside the temple. So this is an allusion to that which was in the temple, but is also in the spiritual temple in spirituality. Of course, the temple was how you call it, a copy of what was happening or what is happening in spirituality and what is happening inside of us as well. Okay, so that's how you need to see it. So Serampin has also its own Avaveima, and they are called the Oper Avi or Avaveima. The wife of Serampin, which is Nukhva, contains also Avi, and is called Yeshut. So when they rise to this level of Asilut, Serampin acquires the characteristics of Avaveima, and Mahut acquires the characteristic of Yeshut. Okay. First, Serampin attains Avi, like I mentioned, and Nukhva attains Yeshut. And Yeshut is what we call Or Hasidim, the light of mercy. When it rises to a higher degree and both of them attain the characteristic of Ava Ve'ima themselves, Or Chokmah is also called Or Chaya. So remember we talked about the Yohe and the Vahe. So when Zerampi and Malchut rise to this level, basically they complete the name Yod, He, and Vahe, and that is called the light of Chaya. So as the world, let's say if we see it, the way we see it here, the light, as it enters as these parsufim rise higher and higher. As they enter, you're gonna have the light of nefesh first, then the light of ruach, the light of neshama, right? Let's say if we are able to, in this world where we are, if we're able to pass our own personal machzon, or our own personal spiritual barrier, and we rise to the point that we can achieve the Malchut of Asiya, the spiritual world, we will be actually receiving the life, personally, us, the life of Chaya on ourselves, right? This is individually, right? Individually, when we pass our own personal machzon. As a humanity, this is different because we're gonna have to pass that machzon, or collective soul needs to pass this spiritual machzon in a different way, right? We have to start loving each other. We have to start working with each other in order for this to happen, and start then living, the whole humanity living the spiritual world. And this is down here. This is us here, right? This is the world here. We need to go here. Look at all that is happening up here. This is what the Zohar is talking about. What is happening up here, above that barrier before the words of Bria, Yetzirah, and Asiyah. So it's talking about this world of Atzilut and how the dynamics of that world is happening, because whatever happens here reflects in Bria, reflects on Yetzirah and Asiyah, because this is basically a fractal of what's going to happen in all creation. Whatever happens here will happen down here in Bria, will happen in Yetzirah, will happen in Asiyah, and it will happen in our world, in the Olam Hazeh. So don't think that we're actually talking about things that are happening in a higher realm and have nothing to do with what we're living today. These things that are kind of like not so physical material, they're very abstract. They are things that are somehow repeated constantly as a fractal, right? In each level of creation, to the point that we ourselves, if we're not awakened by the wisdom of Kabbalah, we will not see the patterns. We will not see what needs to be fixed. We will not see that when we receive the light, we have to make sure we receive the light in the proper way. That therefore Kabbalah, receiving, right? How to receive that upper light in the proper way. That we're not receiving it in an egoistic way that will break a vessel, and we will end up doing the wrong thing or using it for the wrong reasons, right? So in the spiritual world, the donkey driver is a spiritual force that helps the souls of the righteous move from one spiritual degree to another. Without the help of this donkey driver that is sent by the Creator, uh, it is impossible to go from degree to degree and ascend to higher levels. So the Creator basically is sending this higher soul that comes to us, and this is something that we need to understand. We're reading here a story of two people that have this interaction with a donkey driver, but this donkey driver can also come to us because a donkey driver is a soul, is an extra soul that we can achieve, attain, right? This higher soul from above comes to us and help us ascend, help us see what is hiding behind all these concepts that we're studying, help us understand the real purpose of what we're studying, which is the purpose of advancing not only ourselves but advancing humanity towards the end goal, which is Gamar Hatikun, the end of all correction, in which the whole humanity is going to live in the spiritual level, everybody loving each other, everybody having the same goal of working in order to make let's put it this way, in order to make the whole universe better. All right. However, we need to understand that each of us come from a different part of the soul of Adam Harishon. Therefore, we cannot expect all of us to receive the same amount of light or the same wisdom or the same results, because each of us are going to receive according to our own degree, properties, and our purpose in life. Okay. So, according to the Baha'u'llah commentary, he says that in the beginning the righteous failed to recognize this soul. This righteous person considers this soul that, which is a donkey driver, considers like it's low, has no sense. It's just a donkey driver. He's not even a scholar, right? He's not even a rav or rabbi or anything like that. So it just attached to us, and during our walk, and it's just bugging us, with these questions and these riddles, right? So, but this state in spirituality, when this soul attached to us, it is called Ibur, which is conception of the righteous soul. So our soul is basically, there was a zibuk, a connection somehow that made that change in our soul, and our soul was impregnated with this other soul. And it bothers, right? This soul is leaching to us. It's kind of like a pregnant woman, right? That they have a baby, they had to feed this baby, and this baby is sucking the life out of them. So it's the same way with this soul. But in this case, even though we feel it like that, it's giving us life. It's taking us toward higher degrees, right? This higher soul has not yet completed its existence and purpose. It has not yet perceived, or it has not shown itself to the righteous for what it really is. So the righteous person, or the person that is working in spirituality, does not recognize that this soul is something greater than what they think. But after this soul completes its task completely, it brings this person's soul to a upper degree, and this is a degree that is intended. The righteous then reveals the exalted properties of this soul that helped the righteous person, ascend, and this is referred to as the revelation of the soul to the righteous. In our case, this soul was sent to help the souls of Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Abba. And this soul's name, and this is where the secret is revealed, this is the soul of Rabbi Abba, actually Rabbi Hamuna Saba, which is a very exalted and perfect soul that represents the light of Yechidah. So you have Nefesh, right? I just went out. Let me go back. So you have nefesh, ruach, neshama, chaya. Yechidah is above these four levels. This is the light of the Creator basically working on us directly, and in this case, it clothes itself into what is called a soul, into a garment, in order to help us uh, attain higher levels of spirituality. But this light initially is revealed to the righteous as a small light, right? It's called Ibur, conception, right? So it is sensed like something that is in us, attached to us, but we perceive it on a level that is called symbolically here in the Zohar as the donkey driver. The donkey driver is a simple soul. He's not a scholar, he's not a rabbi, he's not a sage, He's just a taxi driver, right? Let's put it this way in modern ways, right? He's just driving a taxi. The Hebrew word for donkey is hamor, as I mentioned before, which also means homer, which is matter. So a person can control his donkey, meaning his body, his desires, ascend above matter as a spiritual being. And since this person wishes to go higher above matter in his desire, he is considered a person that is righteous. Don't not be confused that you are perfect because you want to ascend. It just that at that level you consider as a righteous person, a person that is looking for to do something good, to advance, right? As since this person wants to ascend and is considered righteous, the Zohar here then start talking about these higher degrees in which this righteous soul, this in this case, like Rabbi Elias and Rabbi Abba, they want to basically get to this other higher level. This is why they're traveling. Then a donkey driver, an extra soul is sent there in order for them to understand that during their travel, they will learn, they will achieve certain things, they will attain certain levels as well. Because the end of the goal has stages, and all these stages are basically like steps on a ladder, right? And as they're walking with this donkey driver, that's what they're going. They're going through these steps of the ladder, which it's symbolized by the conversation they're having with it. So the donkey driver task is to take these riders on top of their donkeys from a place to place. And it's funny that I say monkey, because there's a teaching of Rabbi Yaakov Haseira in which he talks about a human being that does not listen to his or her soul and that lives in the state of Hamor, the state of donkey, or the state of Homer, which is the state of matter, is considered like a monkey, right? It's considered like a monkey, just live in the state of of an animal, right? So the donkey driver task is to take this rider mounted on top of the donkeys from one place to another, and he works in front of these donkeys, leading them through spiritual degrees. Every word in the Torah has several meanings, and the multiplicity of these things that we talk in the Torah, they come, or the vocabulary that we use in the Torah comes from upper roots, right? So meaning that when we talk in the Torah, when we talk about one place or another place, a person or another person, these are just spiritual names, but we're using what is called the language of branches, where we're not talking about real things, right? When we say Egypt, we're not meaning the Egypt that we have in the physical realm. We're talking about a state in which egoism has made our spiritual path stagnant, that we cannot move, right? When we say Israel, we're talking about not the land of Israel as we know it today, not the people of Israel as we know it today. We're talking about these altruistic desires that want to connect directly with the Creator, right? So we need to understand about this language that has upper spiritual roots, right? So when we talk about a donkey driver or a person that guides this donkey, we are basically saying that this soul is guiding properties of our soul that are sinful and are very coarse, right? They're just like the animal in our soul or animal soul. So this is what we see that Rabbi Abba said, let us open the gates of the Torah for the time has come for us to correct our path. That means that their soul, with the help of the secrets of the Torah, and their path will be correct and lead them to the Creator. Rabbi Eliezer then began to discuss the passage of the Torah that says, you shall observe my Shabbatot. And he stood at this degree, the degree of Yeshut, and the properties of this degree called Yeshut, right? He concluded that Shabbat itself is a property of Serampin and Nukhva, and has not yet reached the property of sanctity, but only received the light of the level of Yeshut on Shabbat. It is written about this light, you shall fear my sanctity. Because when the light of wisdom, the light of Chokmah, passes through this Parsufim Yeshut, which is Israel Saba Betemunah, to Zerampin, it evokes a fear of them. And it is here that they receive the donkey driver's help, who reveals to them that the secret of the light of Hayah lies in you shall observe my Shabbatot, which signifies the upper and lower Shabbatot, which is Yeshut and Zerampin and Ufa, which come together due to the ascent of Zon to Abba Ve'ima. As a result, Zon, which is Zerampin and Ufa, themselves become holy. So they become that square inside the circle that we talked before in our previous class, and acquire the properties of Bina. Bina means mercy. Bina means altruism. So meaning that Mahut, which is a sephirah that is a very egoistic, that wants to receive, now attains these properties of Bina, which is the properties of giving, properties of not receiving, right? Ratzon lekavel, but ratzon hashpah, right? To give. And that's what we have here, which is the light of Hasidim, the light of mercy. And this is what is written, fear not and observe. Because this Orhaya meaning the Yod, right? The name Havaya, repels foreign impure forces and desires, and all restrictions are lifted on Shabbat. And this is why on Shabbat there is no fear. And according to the explanation of the donkey drivers, the explanation of the phrase, you shall fear my sanctity, this refers only to the central point that is used in the first three, God Rishonot of Abba Ve'ima, Ketechov Mavina, right? In these three, Orhaya, is there, right? But is unattainable. And fear doesn't exist there. The soul of the donkey driver at that moment has fulfilled its role. Because this soul has been brought to these two rabbis, right, in their path, in order for them to achieve what is called attainment of Orhaya. At that time, only when they did merit, that attainment of that height of that soul that have helped them, They attained the revelation of who he was, and now they appreciate who this person was. This is why we see that Rabbi Eleazar and Rabbi Abba, they got off from their donkeys and kissed him. For the attainment of the upper one is defined as a kiss, right? A kiss means, it's mouth to mouth. And like I said, kiss, remember, we're talking here about spiritual roots. When there's a kiss means there's some kind of a one-to-one relationship, kind of like a personal relationship, a connection that is different than a sivug done by Yesod. This is a sivug done by a higher level, and that level is called the at. That level of the at, it basically means that there's a connection between Seramping and Abba Ve'ima. And in this case, there's a connection between these two souls and this upper soul that was sent to them in order to be guided to attain that level. This exalted soul has not yet finished helping them, but it still needs to help them attain the Or Yechidah, which is higher than Chaya. And this attainment of Or Chaya already provides perfection. They have already attained thereby the degree of the son of Rabbi Hamnuna Saba. This level or parsuf or soul called Rabbi Hamnuna Saba is called also the soul of Gamar Tikkun, which is the soul of the end of correction. This is very important to remember when you're reading the donkey driver, that the donkey driver is Rabbi Hamnuna Saba, right? Or the son of Rabbi Hamnuna Saba. But the soul of Rabbi Hamnuna Saba is the soul of Gamar Tikkun. And that's the degree of attainment of Or Yechidah. By attaining this Or Chaya, both of them, they mistakenly think that the soul guiding them belongs to the son of Rabbi Hamnuna Saba. However, after the donkey driver started revealing himself to them, the secret of attainment of Or Yechidah, they see that their companion is no other than Rabbi Hamnuna Saba himself. And that's the reason they could not recognize him before, because the power or the levels that they were supposed to attain, they were not fulfilled yet. They asked him to reveal his name, right? He told them, do not ask me about it, right? Do not, inquire about who I am or anything like that, because he hasn't been done with his work, meaning that he hasn't helped them achieve all the corrections. So at that moment, they were not meriting, any name or any revelation. Because remember, we can only name that we attained, so they haven't attained that level yet. So this soul helps them in their study of the Torah and still need to illuminate their paths, a path that they have not yet attained and a goal they have not attained, right? Let's go. We have a couple of minutes. Let's see if we can go to 86. And he said to him, who has put you here to be a donkey driver? He replies, the letter Yod waged war against the two letters, Kaf and Samech, to come and join me. The letter Kaf did not want to leave its place and join me because it can only be a rest in the throne. And the Samech did not want to leave its place because it has to support those who fall. And without the Samech, they cannot survive. If you want to understand this, it's very important that you go way back when all these letters appear in front of the Creator and ask the Creator why the Creator should start creation with each of them, and then you will understand why the letter Yod acts the way it acts, why the kaf and the samech have these um, attributes, right? So then he continues on 87. The letter Yod alone came over to me by itself, kissed me, embraced me, and wept together with me, and said to me, My son, what shall I do with you? I am leaving you to load myself with a plenitude of good things and a precious, sublime, and secretive letters. And then I shall return to you and help you. I shall bring you the possessions of 2 letters that are much higher than those that have left you. These are substance. In Hebrew, yesh, which is the yod and the letter shin. The superior yod together with the superior shin, and they shall become your treasure, full of all riches. So for this purpose, my son, go and drive donkeys, and this is why I am still doing so. So as we have talked before, right, and as Baal Hasulan is going to explain to us, the donkey driver is a force that is sent down to us as an auxiliary force given to a person who wishes to go to a higher degree, a higher spiritual degree in his path to connect to the Creator. And just as we have in real life donkeys that carry people on their backs, helping them travel from one place to another. As this is happening, the person that is called the righteous one, right, descends from his previous degree and enter what is called the embryonic state of a new degree. Just as the soul, that came to help this person. Remember, this soul that came inside is called an Ibur. Now, the soul of the righteous person enters into that embryonic state, which is a new degree. And this property, which is the Ibur, the embryo, also comes from the word ha'avara, that means crossing in Hebrew. Means that this light that it had in previous degree disappears upon this change of its degree called conception, Ibur. But this Ibur, this conception, is not in the same degree that this person was. This conception now is into a higher degree. And this is why they wanted to know who the donkey driver was. How did the Creator bring you here in a state of Ibur, right? In such a small state. As a result, which the light in us have disappeared. That's the saying. The light disappear. Why? Because who lowers you from the higher degrees? And that is why the donkey driver replied that the letter Yod waged war against the letter Kaf and Samech to join with them. The degree of Hasidim is called Samech, and Samech is Or Neshama. Let me go back to the graph, so that way you have an idea. Neshama is a Hey, right? In the Yohevaheh. When the time has come to attain Or Hayat, which is the Yod of the Yod He and the Vaheh, which is also the degree from which I descended to help you and attain Or Hayat, right? This is what the donkey driver is saying. Chokmah really wanted to connect Or Neshama, that was previously in you, to me. And here Yod waged war against the Kaf and Samech, Malchut of the upper Parsuf clothed in the lower Parsuf, designed by the letter Kaf. There used to be Or Neshama, and now there is Or Chaya. Whereas Yod, which comes from Or Neshama as well, comes together with it, becomes one with it, and rejects the Kaf. This is so because the connection between the degrees from the upper one of the world of Atzilut to the end of the world of Asiyah that is realized only in the last Sephirah, which is Malchut of the upper one, descending to the lower one and clothing in it. Malchut of the upper one cannot descend from her degree of Yesut, the degree of Neshama. Even for a moment, it cannot go lower than that, as the chain connecting this degree will be instantly broken, right? This property of Samek, which is a property of light itself, which the soul received from the Sefirot Chabad Hagat, Chesed, Binat, Da'at, Chokma, Binat, Da'at, Chesed, Geburan, Tifaret of Abba Ve'ima. Above the Chase means the chest, right? So it's above, what is it, like around this leveling here, which is Abba Ve'ima, past to son, when the letters are in Katnut, meaning in smallness, and support them. The Hebrew word for support is somech. That's why the word samech is important here, right? In this way, son will not fall from the world of Atzilut. The letter Kaf, which represents Hasidim, is willing to leave its own place to join the Chokmah, as it needs to connect this Parsuf with the Parsuf, the upper Parsuf, with the lower Parsuf. And this way, but let's put it this way, in order for this to happen, the Parsuf must always be in the same place. They has to continue being in a constant state. Only the soul changes while moving from one degree to another within this world. This is why the soul is called the inner part with regards to the world, which is called the external part. The soul exists and moves about within the world by changing its own properties, its intentions, right? So in order for this half, which is Hasidim, to leave its place and join the Chokmah and connect the upper Parsuf to lower Parsuf, this Samech needs to support that connection or that ascension of the lower ones to the upper ones. So the light of the soul did not want it to come together with the letter Yod, which is the degree of Chokmah of the soul of Rabbi Hamnuna Saba, because it descended to help Rabbi Eleazar and Rabbi Abba. And this is because they need a new light that will bring a new degree within them, the degree of Or Chaya. But on the other hand, the new degree is built from scratch, from the state of conception. When that happened, the entire previous degree and all its light disappears, right? So now you're in a higher or bigger or let's say mature state in one degree. When you reach the higher degree, now you feel like a baby. Let's put it that way so people can understand it. So similarly, in the case of both of them, these new degrees start in Ibur, which is conception, and reaches this level of Chaya. This is the same as a sea must first abandon the present form and rot in order to become a tree afterwards. This is why it is written that it came to me without the light of Chabad Hagat, the light of Chokmah Bina Da'at, Chesed Geburan Tifaret de Ava Ve'ima, and these are called Samech. Samech means support, the light of Hasadim. Samech is the property of mercy, a selfless desire to give, and pure spiritual altruism. And it is unwilling to join the Yod, the Or Chokmah. Or Chokmah cannot enter and feel the Parsuf without first being clothed in this Or Hasidim. Because this clothing of Or Chokmah and Or Hasidim means that the Parsuf is receiving the light of Chokmah not in an egoistic way, but for the Creator's sake. But this Or Hasidim, which is Samech, does not wish to receive anything within itself, It wants nothing to do with this light of wisdom. And this is why the letter Yod wept, being unable to fill the Parsuf with its light, because Hasidim refused to accept the light of Chokmah. It is written about this, hence I must now disappear, and you, the donkey driver, go to the state of Ibur, conception, to reveal the degrees of gradual development of the new Parsuf state within you. Ibur, embryo, leidah, which means birth, yenikah, which means nursing, and mochi, which means maturity. And now that this order of creating each new degree is present, every time a person attains a new degree, this person must undergo these properties. This is why every time a person goes to a higher degree, they must go first through the stage of Ibur, which is embryo, and as they grow will be leidah, yenikah, and mochi. Right? It is impossible to take with you anything from a previous degree. A person needs to start anew from the lowest level of Ibur called the donkey driver. Or Haya, the Abba Ve'ima, is called Yesh, Yod and Shin, where Yod is Chokmah and Shin is Bina. And also, they are more important than the Or Neshama that was in the Parsuf before them. Okay? And with this, we're going to finish this class. I hope you have learned something new, you have attained something new, you have also seen how these names that we have here of rabbis and donkey drivers and letters are actually levels, or I should say how the dynamic of the spiritual realm actually works and how these things manifest in us as well. So each of us are a parsuf, each of us have Rabbi Hamnuna Saba guiding us to go into a higher degree. Each of us, if we're willing, partners with creation, and we listen to the donkey driver and reveal the energy and the light of the donkey driver in our lives, we will attain as we ascend, each level, this level of Ibur, the level of leidah, the level of yenikah and mochin in our lives, in our individual development, individual spiritual development. And in this way, as we grow spiritually, we can help also the whole humanity advance and achieve this level of Gamar Tikkun, which is the end of correction. So I hope you like this lesson. Make sure you subscribe and like, share, ask questions, and I'll see you in the next lesson. That will be lesson 22, in which we hopefully we will continue with the donkey driver. It looks like it'll be more. It'll be probably 2 more lessons after this, because it's a lot to cover. So let's say we'll cover much more of the donkey driver. We'll have more lessons about the donkey driver. So I'll see you in the next lesson. So until then, shalom.